What's up, gang, and aloha. This is John coming at you from Kawila Motors from Oahu, Hawaii, and this is the video for the accessories build for the 2024 Electric Motion Escape XR Limited Edition. Now let's get it. All right, so first off, starting from the top, we actually added the S3 hard enduro high bend bars from S3. Now this one I kind of experimented with because I wanted a little bit higher bar. I wanted to stay away from risers as much as I could, but in doing so, with the high bar bend, and this is something I kind of got to work through, the sweep on these enduro bars are a little bit further back as opposed to the stock bars, which are a lot straighter. I did notice, and you can check out this picture right here, S3's medium, which is actually not that much shorter than the high bend, is a lot straighter as far as the angle. So had I looked at before, I think I would have liked the medium bend better, just because for my style of riding that I've come to be used to, I kind of like the flatter bend. I don't like it sweep back so much. So that's a work in progress, but we did put the hard bar or the high bend from S3 on this bike, and overall it looks good. It feels good. I like the height of the bend, but I don't like the sweep. So that's something we worked through. Yeah. What we did was we put the PRB, which I took off all my other bikes that I've had, and I put my PRB lever on this bike, which is ultimately the same PRBR that came on the top, but I took that off, I sold that, and I put my own thing back. I do like the fact that the regen brake is here versus up here, because all in all, I don't want to take my hand off the grip, and I can still have a good grip on it while actuating my regen brake, which has actually been very, very crucial for me in these in the settings we have here in Hawaii, and getting the most out of my range. Like, I use this brake as a foot brake or a rear brake in a lot of cases. Even if I'm going straight on a flat road, I'll use this regen brake just to slow down. So that helps out a lot as far as retaining the charge of the battery, as well as getting good traction down muddy, rooty, pretty steep hills. It actually does really well. Keep in mind though, you do have to adjust the severity of the regen braking in the EM app, because when you go to a smaller sprocket, which this one has a 38 tooth, it doesn't have as much, I guess the gearing plays into the fact of the inertia and the motor drag. So a smaller gear actually has less regen. So either we bump the gear up to get a little bit more torque on it, or we go into the app and we turn up the parameters as far as the regen braking just to max, to see if we can get better regen power. Like right now it actually rolls really good, but when it comes to stopping and slowing you down hills, it doesn't do as good of a job as the prior Escapes with the 57 tooth sprocket setup. All right, and obviously we put on our Zeta handguards. Like, I just like the Zeta bars. A lot of people, Zeta handguards. A lot of people ask me what's the best handguard, yada yada, and I always say there's really no best one. It's kind of whatever you feel comfortable with. If you like flags, use the flags. Me personally, I'm a basher, so I like the full wraparound. These are Zeta is made by Cycra, and I have some Cycra hard bar mounts here. And then of course just the Zeta style, I kind of like it because it's a little bit more edgy, works well with the electric theme. So just my personal preference, but I got Zeta full wrap handguards on this bike. Now I was going to show this off as an accessory, of course, but this came with the bike, this big, massive, beefy front rotor guard from S3. You can buy this for your XR, and if you don't have the limited edition, obviously, you can buy this piece. The link will be below in the comment section, where you can actually link up directly to Central Power Sports Distribution and order this piece for your XR or X. It won't work on the R, unfortunately, due to the spindle size, but that's just how it is. And you wouldn't need it for the R because your brake rotor is not that big. Now, moving over to the seat, obviously you see the seat has been built up a little bit. I did take the stock seat. Actually, I took this seat off my other bike, but basically it's the stock seat with I think it's a KX85 remnant foam that we took, and we just it was just an old foam from an old bike, and we just took it, we rewrapped it, and now this seat actually offers me, number one, a lot more cushion, so when I am sitting down, if I am sitting down, it's a lot more comfortable. And number two, it's kind of weird, it helps me in say rocky sections where I have to go between sitting down, standing up, foot dabbing on the pegs, sitting down, foot dabbing, between the rock section. But what it does for me personally, I'm 5'8". When I stand on the pegs, or when I'm sitting on the bike, I'm not sitting really low, right? So the transition from on the peg sitting to on the peg standing is this much less. And I mean, it's your prerogative, or it's up to you if you think that makes a big difference or not. But for me, it makes it a lot easier to stand from a sitting position, just because I'm not squatted when I'm sitting on the bike. I'm actually just sitting almost level with the bike, and I can stand a lot easier, so it doesn't take as much energy for me to go from a sitting point to a standing point. I can do it quicker, and in the riverbeds and the rocks and stuff, that's actually kind of helped, because sometimes I sit down to get a nice seat bounce, and sometimes I can stand up, and it makes that transition a whole lot easier. Not a big deal, but something that I've come to like. Yeah. And now, hiding in plain sight is this right here. This, we took our stickers off and we mounted it, but I did end up putting our metal subframe on this bike. Yes, it made the bike about 6 pounds heavier because it is made of steel, but I can firmly grip the back with my handle here. And that's the one thing I couldn't figure out with the built-in subframe. The built-in subframe is awesome, but there's just really no way that I saw to mount a rear strap like this, sturdy to the frame, and come out the plastic and all that stuff. So instead of cutting into it and trying to re-engineer the wheel, I just mounted this metal subframe, which is awesome. So it protects my plastics and everything. Gets it really nice and protected, and I can really use this to pull out of tough situations and off cambers if I need to. So that's awesome. This is actually, all my bikes from 2020 have had this subframe, and it's done me really good, lasted me really good in hard enduro situations, especially here at home. I did add a Trick Bits frame guard, which is, this is a carbon look, it's not real carbon, but it's good enough. Actually, it's a pretty durable plastic. They're very inexpensive, and if they get dinged up, toss them, get a new set. But the frame in general is still based on the old 2020 frame, so that general design hasn't changed. If you do upgrade your bike or whatever, you can use the same part to protect your frame here, which is pretty awesome. And to stay on the Trick Bits trend, I did put swing arm guards as well. Now, there was someone who mentioned in the swing arm is different and there's a different design, and honestly, dude, I don't know what you're talking about. The swing arm is, in my view, exactly the same. The guard fits, it fits the same. I'm not sure where all that's coming from. I did think it was a little bit longer, but now that I'm looking at it, I don't think it's any longer. It's identical. All right, moving down to the pegs, I got the new solid hard rock pegs from S3. Now this one just came out just came out right when I was ready to get the bike. I was gonna get some Hard Rock curves, which I did like before, but I thought, wow, this peg looks really sturdy, looks cool, got a big footprint, and I just wanted to give it a try. So peg preference, it's really up to you, but I went with the Hard Rock on this one. I wasn't able, oh yeah, I went down all the way, but this one you got to put one washer outside because there's only room for one washer in there. You cannot put two, so you can't drop this a little bit lower. But anyway, that's for Shercos and Scorpas. Fit the EM as well, if you're wondering. This will also be in the link of the description, so go and check that out from S3, from Central Power Sports Distribution. And the one thing that I think is the most critical part of this bike is this right here, the SXS skid plate for the electric motion line of bikes. Now this will fit, I think, 2020 to current, because the skid plate hasn't changed. And this to me is a game changer. Not only does it protect the aluminum from getting all bust up and bent out of shape, but it also allows me to glide over rocks, which is awesome. It's good for skidding over stuff, because typically the E-Scape or the electric motion line of trials bikes were very low. So with less ground clearance, you tend to scrape on stuff a little bit more. Now the E-Scape XR is quite a bit taller. It's almost like, I would say it's about 3/4 of an inch taller than the E-Scape R from the previous models, but still the skid plate really helps glide over stuff. Like I've mentioned before in the past, it actually protects your frame here from hitting those rocks, which any EM rider or owner knows that this thing just takes heat when you're riding through some rocks and stuff. Like this is the first place to get really bust up, the paint chipping off and everything. So it protects that very well. And for whatever reason, EM decided to leave this gap here. It takes up the gap, which doesn't seem like much, but here in Hawaii, where we have like tight trails, and people cutting trails and a lot of erosion, we always get like a little nub of it's like a tree that we cut it flush, and then it erodes away, and now there's like a little nub sticking up. And those nubs, for whatever reason, or when things are growing, always tend to get stuck right here. So the fact that this skid plate takes up this gap right here makes it great for just deflecting those things. And it doesn't happen very often, but when it does, it's very, very, very irritating. So mahalo, John from SXS. Make a great product, keep up the good work, and yeah, I'll be putting this on every single bike I own from now on as far as electric motion goes. One more thing that I wanted to point out was I did go to these little tabbed in or indented S3 I guess you could say chain adjustments, and this has actually been very helpful. Before I used to measure it out and have to worry about if it's straight or not. Now I just click it in on both sides, and that makes it a lot easier. I think this is the medium one. There's a larger one, but I'm actually going to buy another chain here, a 520, lengthen this, and so I can push this all the way back and bring this shaft all the way back to the back. As long as I can have a decent amount of tension here on my chain tensioner, I will maximize my clearance for our Gekota IX09W, which I love so much, and I've been running this tire forever, with the shaved sides, of course. And yes, it's a shame to shave the sides, but I think the performance of the tire is worth it. I get a decent amount of time or life out of these tires on an e-bike, because it's not so aggressive and killing the tire like a gas bike. So I don't know, I'll stick with the Gekota unless I find something else that fits better. To me, the Gekota compound is probably the best knobby, I think, for enduro that fits the EM. One thing I did want to point out, that we did turn in our turning adjustments here, our stops, our turning stops, and full lock is now pretty aggressive. I've seen some people take this out, actually take this nut out and put this all the way in. And yeah, I mean, that would give you a little bit more clearance, about maybe I would say half an inch more. But honestly, this is a lot. I mean, this is more than enough. Actually, it might even be too much, in my opinion, for enduro riding. Now, for trials riding, yeah, of course, you want this tight turning radius. But because the pitch of the fork on the XR is a little bit lengthened, and the width of the bike, the whole wheelbase of the bike is now extended outwards, and the rake, it's kind of weird because you have a tight turning radius, but the bike still doesn't turn that well because it's not upright tight like a trials bike. So to me, I think going too much in is doing yourself a disservice, because all you're doing is, if you get into the rocks, you're kind of kinking yourself sometimes if it throws it all the way over. But that's up for debate. That's just however you feel about it. Me personally, I probably will leave it like this, or I'm actually thinking about backing it out just a little bit, maybe a 1/4 inch, just to get a little bit less turning range on the bike, just for my personal preference. But you do you. Whatever you want to do, you can set that. But it's nice that they give you that option on this bike. And for, I believe the Factor E as well has that option, so we'll hope it does. Wait for that review when it comes out. Of course, we had to go with our tubeless setup for our XR wheel, which is not a tubeless wheel. And shout out to my friend Charles Trey, Talking Story on Instagram. He did point out to me, which I totally missed, and pardon the dirt, I had to ride this bike and have some fun with it, but it's a 185/18. Now that's interesting, because the Escape R and the Trials bikes are, I believe, 2.25, which is a wider, you know, a wider wheel. And I believe he was having trouble keeping the tire on the bead for some of the tires. Now, I understand that with the tubeless system, you don't really have a problem with whatever you want to run, because of course we know a tubeless is a 360-degree bead lock, essentially. I am curious, if I did put a Trials tire on here, like the Michelin X11 that does come with the Trials bike, would it fit on this wheel well? And with the tubeless, will it be good enough to lock in? Because we know our wheel is now that much more narrow. I didn't realize that at first, so thanks Trey for pointing it out to me. I guess time will tell, but right now, for this tire and this wheel, I don't see it being a problem with the tubeless setup. But we'll see what happens, you know. That's something to look forward to in the future. Or that's something to update. We'll get you updated in the future. And last but not least, gotta give a big shout out to my brother Travis. We met on Facebook. Brother Travis came down and he rode with us in Hawaii, which was awesome. We rode some EMs in Hawaii, and we seen him at TKO 2023. And he's come up with this new what is this? He's come up with this new sprocket saver. Now this is 3D printed, and as you can see, it's pretty flexible. It has a metal indented, like a machined out washer, so it doesn't rip off. Now this thing is solid, and my friend Travis is actually selling quite a bit of parts for EM that he's kind of designed on his 3D print. And yeah, it's been pretty awesome. So far so good. It's been wearing away a little bit as the chain's been rubbing, because it is angled a bit, but that's okay. I'm okay with it wearing in. It's a lot sturdier than the stock plastic one. And yeah, I'll send you a link to his webpage where he sells all these parts, and you can just jump on and see if you want to get some. These things are awesome, and it's weird that it's 3D printed material, but it's very flexible and it's quite durable, as you will see on some of the tests that he does on his website, where he's kind of like smashing some of the pieces and they're not deforming. So mahalo Travis for sponsoring me with this, or hooking me up with one of these. And yeah, go check out Travis on his website, that is also in the comments, the description below, and go check out parts for your EM. Mahalo nui guys, this is a short video, we all knew that, but what a great day to show off the bike. Hopefully I'll get some ride time in. I've been very busy, so thanks for waiting for the videos to come out, and I hope I can get some more in, but right now it's just a little busy time in my life. But thank you again for your support. If you like what you see, please subscribe. Please hit that notification bell so that you get updates on the videos that we do put out, more on the XR and some of the new bikes that are coming out. Our Factor E 2.5 is supposed to show up later this month, so hopefully we can do a video review on that and really try out that 4-speed transmission. Like, I really want to see what that's like on that bike, which everybody is saying is like a game changer as far as the trials bike for the electric and whatnot. The first guys to hit the market with a transmission, 4-speed transmission on an electric bike with the real clutch. Keep that in mind. Now, thanks again for the video. These bikes are solid. You don't got to put much on them to make them awesome, because out of the box they're great, and that's the one thing about electric motion that we do love. But till next time guys, ride with aloha and take care.